This is episode 207. Do you want the money? I've done this one before, but I'm going to put a twist on this because this is based off of our money podcast inside the SLI online esthetician school. And it has been coming up more and more from what I see on social media, conversations I'm having in my DMs, I'm having on threads. I actually like threads. So if you're not on threads, you should be on threads. It's really good. Anyway, so we're going to deep dive into do you want the money? And this is going to go all encompassing. So I'm going to bring some processes up that we work through in the money podcast. If you're not familiar with my money podcast, it's just for students who are in my online esthetician school. And we actually break down the money myths. We learn how to accept money. We learned how to not count our money that we haven't made. We have learned how to calm our nervous system when we get money because money is a very, very big byproduct and an energy transfer that a lot of us take on. And it's also the reason why we started our own business. We wanted to control when, how much money we receive. And so I talked a little bit this about this today when I did a video on Instagram that when you start a business, a lot of us come from corporate America. Corporate America, we earn a paycheck every 2 weeks. We are paid 104 times. No, we're paid less than that because there's 52 weeks in the year. We're paid every 2 weeks. So 26 times a year, we would receive a paycheck. We would typically get 2 weeks off of paid vacation. We'd have our sick time, blah, 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 blah. When we transitioned from working in corporate America and however that looks over to business owners, we still take the employee mindset into that business. So for me, my excitement was I wanted to get paid every week. But in order for me to get to the level that I want to be at, I had to learn to accept money every day. I had to break out of the 2 week process that I was inbred into because that's what happens in corporate America. When I started the business, I was like, I'm going to pay myself every week, right? I was so determined. I'm going to get out of that mold. But it didn't take me out of that mold until I started giving myself money every day. And I've talked about this a little bit in my book, Pay Myself. That link is down below. If you haven't, it's a workbook. It is a very intense way of not only me sharing what I went through in my money struggles, but the things that I used to get out of it, how I used my tips to pay off my credit card debt, what the things that I did for clients, and how I really started emphasizing paying myself. One of the ways that I paid myself once I started understanding that I just did not want the money. I made the money, but I wasn't giving myself permission to have it. And some of you are probably listening, like, well, what is she talking about? What do you mean permission? How are you giving yourself money? How have you justified giving yourself money? Do you give yourself money weekly? Do you give it every 2 weeks? Do you do once a month? Do you just take a draw? Do you take what's left over? Or do you push yourself to the front of the line and you give yourself money every day? You make money every day. So why can't you give yourself money every day? Who said you couldn't do that? So I forced my way out of the mindset of an employee because that was my biggest struggle. Yes, I had all of the freedoms. We have all of the freedoms. We make income daily, every day. But in order for me to actually have it to pay for my living, my lifestyle, where I slept and what I did, I had to change that too. Because once a week is absolutely fine. But when I pushed myself to give myself money every day, that's when a lot of things changed. And I would encourage you to do it too. Someone asked me, they said, how do you stay in the mindset of realizing what it is that you're actually doing in your business? Because being a business owner is one of the hardest things anyone will ever do because it's not just about you commanding how much you make. It challenges you in multiple different ways, but the challenges come when you're alone, when you're by yourself, when you are planning out your business strategy. That's when the challenges come because you try to forecast and think what your clients are going to think of you, how they're going to respond. Then you're thinking about your business as a whole. You have goals that you want to get to. There's a certain amount you want to make every week, every month. There's goals that you want to do. And all of that is under business owner hat, right? And then there's the emotional side, which is what I talk about a lot in my money podcast, because that's really where we have to learn how to manage and work through those emotions that are pulled, especially from our formidable years when we were younger and how we viewed money, how our parents reacted to money, how we had or didn't have money, the restrictions that were put onto us by our parents and our family when we didn't have, and then how we acted when we did have money. You have to work through all of that and then also run your business. No one talks about that either. So the reason I created the Money Podcast, and there's 10 episodes there, and I always tell all of my students to listen to them as much as they can because there's things that you have to work on a regular basis, right? So the first episode is asking you, do you want it? Because you have to want it in order to give it to yourself. I went to the extreme and I give myself money every day. I would literally the night before take out any cash, put it in an envelope, write my name Stephanie on it, put it on my desk so when I came in the next morning, that money was for me. And I had to do that for the psychological. I knew every day I was making money. That was my mantra on my way into the office. I don't know how much money I'm going to make today, but I'm grateful for all the money that I'm going to make. So that way on the drive home, I have made money for the day, which is such a powerful place to be in. It's a powerful place to be in. It's a very grateful place to be in because I'm open to receiving whatever comes into the business. I'm going to thank whatever comes in before it comes in. Very powerful because people that I see don't think in the same way. Some of you look at it like, because we're counting our money. And that's another podcast I have. You go through your books, you see what you have for appointments for the day, if you have some or if you don't, and you've already counted the money you haven't received. And then if that client cancels, you break down, you lose it. You have an emotional response because you feel like that they're attacking you when something happened in their life and they were not able to give the business money, which is also why I have multiple streams. I don't rely on one way to earn. And so I want to challenge you in this. I see a lot of estheticians, not only in my groups on Facebook, but other groups that I'm involved in, and they're not that many, but on Instagram, on Threads, on TikTok, and you're complaining, but you also have control. You're complaining because you feel like your business is just sitting and waiting. You have made your business into let me sit and wait for a client to come and show up instead of taking the opposite and communicating your way into income. When I ask you if you have a website that you can have your retail products on and they can be open 24/7, there's a reason why I say that, right? When I ask if you are on social media talking to your current clients in your Facebook group and creating a community, there's a reason why I'm asking that. When I ask if you're on social medias, TikTok specifically, letting people know where you are, what you offer, teaching them how to take care of their skin, there's a reason why. Because all of the things that I've just listed out are all income streams that you can get into the business that had nothing to do with the one-on-one service. So if you're in the sitting and waiting, you're going to always sit and wait. If you're over communicating with your current clientele, building that community, encouraging them to invite their family and friends to be introduced to you, and then you're getting on social media talking to potential clients. Because here's the issue, especially with Instagram and TikTok, you're not talking to the people who come in to get services from you. You're talking to the people who are finding you. That's the opposite of sitting and waiting. If you're sitting in your treatment room waiting for people to come in, they are never coming. I'll never forget, I had someone that came into the esthetician store right here in Dallas, Plano, Texas, and she said, I have not had any new clients, and my clients that I have haven't referred. And you know what I always say to that? Then your services you offer are not referable. You can change that now. Then I said, but are you communicating with the ones that you have, and are you communicating with the ones that may be potentially your clients? Yes or no? She said, what do you mean communicating? Well, then that's a no. The type of business that we're in, it is not a sit and receive. We're not a restaurant. We don't put out a menu and then let people just walk in and try. That's not what we do. Oftentimes, we have to explain what we do to people. We have to explain what we offer. We have to explain why we are valuable. But sitting in your room waiting for someone to come in, that is not how you grow a business. So I go all the way back to the beginning. Do you want the money? Because if you want it, then you'll set up systems that you will use every day to get money. The reason you have your business is so that you can generate income, and that income can provide for the business and provide you to live. Have a place to stay, roof over your head, food in the fridge, car to get back and forth. That will not happen if you sit in the room thinking people are just going to walk in. If you think posting once a week or sending an email once a month is going to do that, it is not. But in my world, as someone who earns 6 figures a month and 7 going on to 8 figures a year, I share my money mistakes, I share the money emotions, and I share all of the things that I've done to get to this space. And all of it has come back to wanting the money. Giving myself money daily was a huge shift. But I'm also setting up systems to where I can receive money 24/7, 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. I receive money. And I receive money in multiple ways while I'm sleeping, while I'm driving, while I'm up, while I'm online, while I'm in a coaching call. I'm always receiving money into the business. And so when I work with estheticians and we have this conversation, there's always a little bit of resistance because most estheticians feel they can only get income when they actually do a service one-on-one. I say you can have income doing a service one-on-one and other things. So it's not just you coming in and you having a one-on-one service and you earning income from that service price and from retail when they buy it. There's other means for that. But in order for you to say, yes, I want the money, you have to be open to the multiple ways the business can earn because it cannot survive on services and it cannot survive with you sitting in your room waiting for people to come by. Posting once a week is not going to get it. Sending an email once a month is not going to get it. Start communicating, talking to, teaching people how to take care of their skin. If that's something that you're open to, then you'll be open to all of those different ways. The reason I have the school and I have different ways that you earn income and I break it down really clear is because so many of us are stuck in that one way. Your business has multiple ways that it can earn income. You are in the way. You're going to have to get out of the way. You're going to have to be open. You're going to have to be in the space of I can earn income in and out of the service, open or closed. The business can receive money all the time. I love the fact that I decided to make a podcast for one of the biggest issues that most business owners, especially in the beauty space, especially estheticians, because we are givers. We want with all of our might and our heart and our soul to help people learn how to take care of their skin, fix their problems they're presenting to you. We want to do that. We are great at what we do. We are great at what our hands do. What we're not great at is the business side. And so by me sharing my money lessons, my money issues, teaching estheticians in my school how to make more, how to be open to receiving, how to create community to where you can communicate yourself into more clients, more appointments, more retail sales, more gift certificate sales. I teach estheticians how to do that because here's a situation at the end of the day. When you get to a point where you are maxed out, and I've worked with estheticians that are maxed out, there's no more room. They have a 2 month plus waiting list, right? But that's just for services. Those clients who can't get into you can still buy the retail. That's why we set up that system. Usually, when I see an esthetician that's booked 2 months out, they completely stop advertising, right? But when you understand that services are just one income stream, you still have retail, you still have your community, you still have gift certificates. I have a podcast specifically in the money podcast section that is just about creating your $10,000 a month retail business inside your existing business. When I say $10,000 a month, there's a lot of people that really cringe when I say that. And in my opinion, $10,000 is the minimum. That's our starting space. Because if you are an esthetician, and whether you have 50 clients a month or 100 clients a month, you already have the capability to get that $10,000 a month in retail. You just have to set it up. You just have to say yes to it because the clients want to buy from you, right? And so when I say this out loud, there's a lot of folks, once they hear that that's the number or where we're going to start, that's the minimum, that's the starting space. They're like, oh my goodness. But I don't know any other way to be an esthetician. I was taught in school that retail is a must have. It is not a question, it is a must have. I was taught to retail in services. I was taught to retail after services. I was taught to retail regardless if there is a service. There's going to be a retail conversation, right? And so the beautiful thing about the school that I'm very proud of is not only the transparency, but helping people realize you don't have to know everything. You don't have to know everything. You just need to put yourself in communities where you can learn from not only other people's mistakes, but what also works in their business. Most groups don't. Here's what I'm noticing, and I said this on my podcast before. Um, Most Facebook groups that estheticians are in, they're not sharing how they make their money. They're going to talk very coded. They're going to be very specific in the words that they use, but they're not going to share how they make money. When I tell estheticians exactly how I make money, when I say how I have, 6 figures a month from Facebook groups, people don't necessarily believe me. It doesn't mean I don't necessarily need people to believe me. I'm just saying that it's possible and I do it. That's one income stream, right? I tell people all the time, I'm on TikTok talking to people. I make videos. I talk about situations and solutions for the skin uh, regularly. I make a lot of money on the TikTok platform. If I was still doing services, I would have a full book. I'd be booked and busy because I get people in my inbox all the time. Where are you? Because I gotta love to get a service with you. If we had more estheticians, and I had a good conversation on Threads about this, if we had a lot more estheticians that were just as aggressive as beauty influencers, our industry would be completely different. Instead, we complain about beauty influencers. I blame the influencers. They're telling people, but you're not getting on there and correcting them either. Half of my time on TikTok is correcting myths and mistakes, is educating. I teach people how to cleanse their skin. I teach people how to cleanse their intimate space. I talk about hair removal. I talk about some of the things that people take for granted or they assume. I talk about body odor. I talk about intimate odor. Now, all of the things that I talk about, thank God that I have a very extensive skincare and body care, now hair care line that I can back up and explain how to use it. But I teach people how to take care of their skin. I've been teaching people since the day I started in aesthetic school. And so when I accepted that that's what it was going to do, that the money flowed right behind it. I enjoy it. I had another founder beauty brand that said, I don't know how you do it. And I looked at her and said, I enjoy it. I enjoy explaining how we get my skin's daughter balanced because I know there's a parent struggling with their child that has eczema and they can't get their skin balanced. I love talking to people about how to control their underarm odor because I have very loud underarm odor. I'm just sharing what I did for myself and how they could do it too. I love being able to talk about our fragrance-free cleansing bars for people that have very loud body odor. I love talking to parents who don't know how to talk to their children about cleansing themselves because they get to that place in puberty where they become, very emotional and embarrassed because of their body odor. I like to talk to the parents and say, this is what we need to do. As someone who was funky in her teen and 20s, in her teens and in her 20s, I know what it's like to be a funky child. But I created these things so that my daughter didn't have to go through that funky time. Today on TikTok, she was on with her friend and we were talking about the underarm bar. She said, Mom, I feel like I was just funky for just a week. And I said, I was funky for 20 years because there was no one to teach me what it was and why my skin and body reacted that way. And so I'm saying this on live with hundreds of people while they're looking at my daughter. And Celine admits, yeah, I only had to be funky for about a week. And I said, because I didn't want you to go through what mommy went through. I enjoy sharing that. And there's a piece of me that becomes healed when I have those conversations with her and when I have conversations with parents, and I enjoy it. But in what I'm enjoying and what I'm teaching and what I'm explaining, I'm receiving money constantly. So I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning. Do you want the money that you are getting in your business? Do you want it? Have you ever asked yourself that question? Most people assume, of course you want it. You're in business. This is how your business generates income. Believe it or not, you can still generate income and not want it. What's the signs that you don't want it? You spend everything that you have. You spend more than you make. You're already in the negative before you even get to work. You've counted all of the clients you have for the day, assuming they're all going to show up because you've already spent that money or you're going to spend that money when it comes in. When you want the money, you allow your business to have more than one way to get income. You're open to creating communities and creating communication with people, and there's no limits to how they give that business money. I'll ask again. Think about this. Send me a DM when it really hits you. Do you want the money? Not working for the money. I go and I do a service. I get, do you want it? This episode is sponsored by the SLI Online Esthetician School. Click the link down below to start your first day of school.